Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hot Mic with Lady She podcast. I'm your host, Lady She. Tonight, we will be speaking about holistic health and overall just the medical field. I spoke to my guest a little earlier. We tapped into PTSD behind the doctors, medication. We're going to tap into a few things tonight. So please share, subscribe, like, whatever you need to do. If this is something that is on your heart, or you know someone who you feel needs to hear something about this, maybe they've had surgery and since they've had anxiety, or maybe they have a surgery coming up maybe, and they want to feel encouraged. My guest on tonight has an amazing journey. She's super strong. Like, she's absolutely an overcomer. Just reading her information, just having a conversation with her, I love the energy that she has. I can tell that she's a fighter. So I think maybe share this episode with someone that maybe need to be encouraged if they have surgery coming up, or if they want to look into different options, or if they're weighing on, maybe a doctor gave them a certain diagnosis and they want to get a second opinion, maybe third or fourth opinion, depending on what the situation is. But I think you will absolutely be encouraged on tonight. So I'm going to welcome in my guest, Ms. Rachel Kass of the Infusion. Excuse me, let me get it right. Of the Infusion Health Podcast. She's one of the hosts. So let's invite her in.
Hey guys, thanks.
Hi,
Rachel. Hi, honey.
How's it going?
It's going good today. Well, I should say tonight. I already talked to you about today.
Right. Yep. That's it. Listen, things go on. We got to just keep it pushing. Yes. Find the good. So thank you so much once again, for coming on and accepting my invitation. I honestly can't remember which group it was. I'm in a million daggone podcast groups, million groups for, I make t-shirts, everything that I'm involved in. I'm in a bunch of groups.
Yeah.
So I can't even actually remember which group it was, but, I definitely believe in divine connection. So I know I didn't come past your posts just by happenstance. I know that it's absolutely God, and that I need to put your story out there on my platform, and I would love for you to share why you felt the need to start this podcast, and just tap into your journey a little bit, just to encourage the people.
Absolutely. And I think the people need to be encouraged when they're at a state where I was. In fact, that's the reason why I started the podcast, because I had neuropathy that went wrong. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I had just started dabbling in the holistic world. Mm-hmm. I have a very Western medical family.
Okay.
And so I was getting backlash from my father at that time, because it was essential oils that helped me.
Right.
And I was like, if I don't have this education, who else doesn't have it?
Right. See, and that's the thing that people need to, that I love the attitude. I'm so glad you started off with that particular energy, because sometimes people just like, okay, well, I figured it out and I'm good. You have to share. You have to share, because everyone's not, research savvy. We make jokes about YouTube University and Google this. Everybody doesn't have that. So they're just going to go by whatever the doctor tells you and just keep it pushing. But there are other options. So thank you for saying that. So two things. Explain what neuropathy is and what you mean by Western.
Okay. So what I mean is by Western is the medical field. Right? Your hospitals, your urgent cares, your doctors, pretty much anything that's covered by insurance, because holistic definitely isn't.
Thank you for saying that. That is the fact. Whoo!
And I do pray that I am alive at a day that holistic is welcomed into more insurances.
Absolutely. So explain to people what neuropathy is, and then explain to people what holistic actually is, for those who may not know.
So neuropathy is something that startles your body into a shock, and it doesn't leave. There's different types of neuropathy, and sometimes it's just genetics. Right. So what's going on is, the best way I can describe it is, have you ever put your tongue on a 9-volt?
Ooh.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we absolutely did that.
Absolutely, we did.
Yeah,
I
we
don't know if
did.
my kids have done it because they were different generation, but
Yeah, it's the truth though.
but
Wow.
I think that's the best way I can describe it. And the 9 volt is at different levels, and before I found my pain helper, um, my bipolar was kicking in pretty hard, and I didn't want to be alive for my 5 babies anymore.
Wow. So when were you diagnosed with bipolar disorder?
Bipolar disorder, I was just the babies were babies, so I want to say 2005.
Okay, so 2005. So you already had 5 children at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, you already had the 5 kids, and you said the babies were babies. You have
Yeah.
twins?
I have twins twice.
Oh, what? Give me some of that energy, child. Oh man, I love that. That is beautiful.
Yeah, they're about a little under 2 years apart from each other, and I was a single mom.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
before you came on, I said she's an overcomer. She's a powerhouse. Like I can tell. I could tell she don't play. She like this is what's going on in my life. Okay, let's handle it. I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So single mom, 5 children. You find out that you have bipolar disorder. You know what? Explain that as well, because just because we know what it is doesn't mean other people know what it is. So explain.
Yeah, and I think that's such a true statement because, especially for our Black people that are starting to figure out mental health,
Come
you
on.
don't understand that. I know my fiance, before we did the podcast together, he's like, "Oh, you got depression, you're fine. Just shake it off."
See, come on, Rachel. We want to help some people. We got to.
But what truly bipolar is a chemical imbalance in your brain and can usually be brought on by generation. Now, just because it's generational doesn't mean you need to carry it on to the next generation. You can learn the tips and tricks to teach yourself how to get through that moment and teach your children.
Love that. Love that. So just share a few things, and then we're gonna move past this. But like, what are like the tips and I can think of some things for sure. But what are some of the things that you would say, if a person, because sometimes I feel like people can be in denial about it.
Yep.
So
First off,
like
talk about it and be true about it.
say again.
Talk about it and be true about it.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. So that would be a tip.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very strong tip, because that person that you're talking to might not understand what you're going through, but they're about to, because you're in that bed and you can't get out.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
And
Love that. Love that.
and if they're not the partner to disclose that to, because you've already disclose it to another person. Go tell somebody else, because somebody else is going to understand what you need. And what you need is to be pulled up out of that bed, either by your own determination or by somebody helping you.
Right. So what was it like for your older kids? When you found them?
The babies were babies and the girls were about 2. What I have to say about that is at age 3 is when you usually start getting your permanent memories, and it's usually one that was brought on by traumatic. That's usually, if people look back, they're thinking about 3 years old. I know myself, the first thing I remember about being that age is that I accidentally was playing hide and seek and knocked my brother into a cedar chest. And we had to go to the hospital.
Wow. And you remember that at 3?
Yeah.
Isn't the mind amazing? The mind is just, the mind is something else, man. I'm telling you. Wow. Yes. That is something. So that was the start of the trauma.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's important for people to understand that my 2-year-olds and my babies did never see me in my very worst in my bipolar, because it was undiagnosed at that time.
Right.
My oldest was 8.
Okay. And what was that when you say the worst?
I tried to slip my wrist.
Wow. God, I thank you. Whew! That is on that one. No, I know all about that, honey. Trust me. I know all about that. That's why you're here to tell your story, to help somebody else, because we have to have real conversations to save lives. That's the
And
have to have
if
real.
you witness it in your children, have that conversation. And I'm sorry if you don't witness it, because I didn't during the pandemic.
Right.
I had 5 babies to worry about. George Floyd, because we're in Minnesota, to worry about and educate my babies. My babies are biracial, and they didn't all know what that was all about, because they were just teenagers.
Right. And you don't know until it hits your door or hits your TV. And then you have to have these real conversations, because you can't not have them.
Right.
And that's why I wish people would really understand, like you're doing your children and society an injustice to not have the conversation.
Absolutely.
You really have to have these conversations.
Yeah, my ex-husband would get really livid with me if I watched any documentaries and all that at that time, which I have to say, the documentaries weren't as powerful as the ones that are coming out now.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they are just being all the way real. They keeping it all the way 100 in these documentaries, and I'm here for it. Because I'm telling you, there's some things you thought you knew, you like, wait, what? Oh, that's what that was. Woo! Do you understand, the layers connected to some of the information you were given at that time? But now these documentaries are serious.
Yeah. Wow. So with 5 of my kids, 2 of them were educated because he allowed them, when I was watching those documentaries, to sit down and watch them with me. But I wasn't allowed to have all the kids there and force them to watch it. So it was a voluntary effort at a young age.
Got you. Okay. I got you. Wow. So the pandemic brought on some changes in your household.
Yeah.
And then you're dealing with the neuropathy, and where to come in where you already had a surgery, correct?
I already had the surgery. I had already started finding healing at this point. So it's the surgery happened in 2017. We're talking about pandemic time now.
Right.
So right around 2020. I'm working in the hospital in this moment, and still are, because I love my unit. But
now what do you do?
I'm an NST, so I work right under the nurses.
Got you. Oh yeah, we need you guys for sure. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the front line. So but to work. Go ahead.
But the point that I was trying to make is, I had just found out I had a brain tumor. And just a side note, just to finish up on that whole thing with my family, and what you need to watch out for when you think you have a handle on your children, is my daughter was in her bed. I was too busy working, trying to protect everybody in the house, trying to deal with me having a brain tumor, not knowing if it was benign or what it was.
Right.
And she slit her wrist. She carved into her skin.
Wow. And she was what?
She was 16, 17 at that time.
And that's the age, man.
Right.
We got to keep praying for our teenagers. They go through a lot, and a lot of times in secret.
Yeah.
So that's that age. That really is that age. Wow.
Can I just say something about Texas and that shooting?
Please. This is your world right now. Do your thing.
I think that it's okay to have a gun, but it's not okay to have an AK-47.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely think that there was trauma in that kid's life.
Yeah.
He was living with his grandparents. Mm-hmm. So what happened in that kid's life that made him think that he needed to go shoot up a school?
Mm-hmm.
And why are we
shoot her?
Yep.
He shot her too. Something was happening. So
why are we having that conversation before we're allowing anybody to buy any kind of gun?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. You got to get in your kid's business. I'm that parent. I'm in your business. You live on the mountain. I want to know what's happening. I want to know why you're walking in kind of quiet. What went on today? We have to create these environments where, for one, our children don't feel like, oh boy, if I have this conversation with my mom, she's going to be offended.
Right.
They should be free to speak their minds, not be disrespectful, because there's a difference, you know.
Yes, there
There's
is.
a difference. There's a difference in allowing your child to speak their mind freely, respectfully, and then being disrespectful. And I think
Right.
a lot of times we as parents don't know the line. We
Yeah.
just like, if they're saying this to me or they're asking me these questions, it's disrespectful. And we got to get past that because we're losing our kids. We're losing our
Right.
kids. We have to have real conversation. We have to allow them to speak freely when our relationships break up. You
Right.
know, when we find out that we're bipolar, and now we have to get, the family is now dealing with healing or
Mhm.
figuring things out. We have to have these conversations so they're not uncomfortable with knowing like mom is bipolar. Mom is not dying, and it's not the end of the world for us. This is just something we're all gonna have to grow to
Yeah.
learn how to deal with and nurture and love each other.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important. So thank you for bringing that up.
I think it's important
Really
for
important.
listeners to know that I had 6 months time away from my babies. And the reason why I allowed myself that grace is because they were in a safe place. They were with my mother and father. And even though I was abused as a child, my father had undiagnosed bipolar at that time and has gratefully done a 360. Like,
Mhm.
he's not even the same person.
Right.
Um, so they were in a safe space. And I allowed myself to have that grace because when I was 16, a friend of mine killed himself when he was 15.
Wow.
And,
That's more trauma.
right?
That's more trauma.
And I was attributing that to love his mother, but I attributed it to his mother because she was going in and out of hospitals for mental health.
Mhm.
And he's seen that. So when he decided to take his life, he didn't give any symptoms that he was going to. And he just ended
Wow.
up doing it
And how did he do that?
with a gun.
He ate a gun. Who just got chills?
Right?
Oh boy, boy, boy. We gotta figure this thing out.
We really do.
We have to figure this thing out. We have to figure this thing out for sure. Listen, thank you so much, for sharing that. Because I'm sure somebody needed to hear that. Somebody needed to hear that. So thank you so much, for sharing that. So now you had to get the surgery on your leg.
Yeah.
You're working. Pandemic hits. What was like, explain, the steps in reference to the doctor telling you have to have this surgery? Because in my brain, I've never actually had like surgery
Yeah.
on any like real part of my body. But my thinking is, if a doctor says to me, you need surgery,
Right.
I'm thinking that there's other options. And this,
Right.
he's telling me this is the best option. So walk us through that a little bit.
So at that time, I blindly followed the doctor, and that was in 2017 when I had the varicose vein surgery.
Mhm.
So the best thing I did for myself when I found out that I had a brain tumor is get myself aligned with the right neurologist, and I ended up going to 3 neurologists during the pandemic.
Wow. All right. Explain to people what a neurologist is and what made you go to the neurologist, and that's how you found out about the tumor. What made you do that? Were you getting headaches? What was happening?
Migraines, severe
Migraine.
migraines.
Phew.
And what a severe migraine is not a headache. It's a it's a non-visible thing to the outside public, but you can't think, you can't speak, you lose words, and it feels like a vice grip on your head.
Right. Phew. That was a way to describe it, child. I used to get those years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Those.
think it's important that, neuropathy is an invisible sickness. Migraines are an invisible sickness, and people don't understand that stuff.
Right. Right. So now you're going through this. Was it even a thing where the people in your surroundings are just like, oh, okay, well, you get migraines. Oh, okay, you have neuropathy. Like,
I
what was that
have
like?
the best team on my unit. I
Wow.
have the best team on my
That's
unit.
a blessing. That's a blessing.
They don't question me when I have a migraine.
Hmm.
They don't say, "Oh, I wish you were here," blah blah blah.
Right,
No,
right.
Because that's the last thing you need is feel guilty when you already know that you're supposed to be at work.
Right.
Do you think I'd rather be at home not being able to have the money to feed my babies?
Right.
Of course not.
Right. Come on, Rachel. Telling you, that's a fact. That's real. That is real right there. So now the migraines are happening, and you're like, okay, something got to give. Let me go to a neurologist. All right, explain what neurologist is.
So I ended up in the emergency room. They did an MRI in that moment, found out that I had a brain tumor, and sent me over to a neurologist. Now, a neurologist can help you with the nerve damage that's going on in your body, but I can also look into your brain and find out what the heck is going on in there.
Right. So you said you just said Jesus, you just said something that just literally flew out of my head. Good God. You said, explain to me what an MRI is.
MRI is different than a CAT scan.
Mhm.
You're going in this huge tunnel thing, your whole body. Now, the blessing, the blessings of a broken leg or whatever, or a body part that might have a tumor in it, is way different than a mind. A mind, you're generally in there about 45 minutes, where the other body parts you're in there for about 20.
Right. Oof, I hate getting MRIs. My goodness, I'm getting my chest getting tight right now. Think about that tunnel.
I know.
Ooh, I gotta put the music on and everything. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, oh God, okay. All right, go. You know, it's a lot. It is a lot dealing with that. So now you get the MRI and it comes back that
yeah, it is benign.
Okay.
Right now, the first MRI was about the size of your pinky nail.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you don't get acrylics. But yeah, but the pinky nail.
So non-cancerous, the size of a pinky nail. So then what happens?
So the first neurologist tells me it's going to be about 25 years until, we have to worry about it. And
okay.
At this time, we are doing video conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And
This because of the pandemic?
Yeah, that's during the pandemic. So I have time off, and I go into the office and I say, can I see my brain tumor? Because you have to, you know what? If you have an enemy, you want to face it.
No, that's a fact. Got you on that one.
So I go in the office and I'm like, can I see it? Because I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, sure. He's looking in the frontal lobe. I find out that it's the back of the brain.
What?
I find out that it's in the back of the brain by my third neurologist.
Oh, I'm sick. I am sick. Wait, the first doctor tells you you have a brain tumor. It's benign. It's the size of a pinky fingernail.
Yeah.
And we'll worry about it in 25 years. And you find out after the second one, you hit the third one, and they tell you it has nothing to do with the front. It's the.
And I had stayed with my first one for about 1.5 years. Finally end up leaving him because now I don't recommend this for anybody that doesn't understand medications.
Okay.
But I was on Topomex. It had now granted, I'm working the pandemic in the hospital at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Right around Christmas time, I am now eating food that tastes like bark, because bark off the tree.
Okay.
And my limbs are numb.
Oh boy.
And I have friends that are nurses, NSTs, and doctors that are saying you're at too high of a dose.
Right. Ooh, thank God for the village at the job. Thank God for the team, because what the heck?
Yeah. So right around Christmas time, I tried getting a hold of him, and he is giving everybody time off. So I can't properly get a hold of him. Even the after hours people are not there.
Mm.
So I
How
take myself
convenient.
down just a little bit. I take myself down just a little bit, and he gets furious.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I understand this for anybody that doesn't understand medication. You shouldn't take off your, because there's side effects from taking off
Right.
yourself abruptly.
Yeah, it's withdrawal.
Yeah.
Especially abruptly. Like your body can go in shock.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And I get it. Okay. But I did it responsibly.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what, Britta? You don't know where at this time, I thought it was in my frontal, and he couldn't find it when I went in there. He couldn't find it. So I'm like, do you even know where my tumor is? Like, internally, I'm thinking to myself,
like, do I even have one?
Right?
Like, come on, sir. What?
And a lot of people were saying he's one of the best. And I'm like, you know what? He's just got patient amnesia. And the thing is that people need to understand is what patient amnesia is.
What is that?
When you've seen too many patients and you don't know their case.
Yep. Come on, Rachel. Because I went through that with my son's neurologist. I was like, I literally branded her the Oprah Winfrey of neurology. I said, this lady is too, who do we have today? Oh, I'm like, do you even know who he is? Yeah. Do you remember what happened last? Do you know anything? It's frustrating. That's not fair.
And what I've talked to with doctors on my podcast is, number one, be careful when you do Google searches.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
Because they're not reputable, all of them.
That's right. Some of them are just links to another link, to another link, to another link, to do a commercial, to do an ad, to advertise something, and you reading and reading and reading. It don't have nothing to do with what's happening. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, because I used to be a big Googler, and I'll be going crazy, thinking I got all kinds of stuff. Diagnosing myself to everything. And I'm like, oh, it's just this? Oh, okay. But Google said,
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that, for sure.
The other thing is to get to know your doctor personally. And what I mean is, you only have that doctor for about 10 minutes, and you've had your nurse for about 30. And if you're in the hospital, then that's where you get me for most of the time.
Right.
Get to know your doctor in that 10 minutes.
Right.
When he has a personal connection to you, it's taken out of the textbook and put more personal.
That's the one.
So
love that. People really need to understand that, because you will have, those doctors who are they just happen to be very smart, but they have no bedside manner.
Right.
Like zero. And I've gone through that a few times. I went through something super traumatic, and the doctor was like, oh, so you coded? And I'm like, what? So you had a bad miscarriage? What happened with that? I'm like, this is how we do this conversation? And you here for my leg. Like, what?
Oh,
no bedside manner. Just zero. Just,
yeah.
They're, super book smart, super great at what they do, but nothing. You're just another folder, another file that was at that door, and they picked it out and say, oh, this person.
That's patient amnesia. That's patient amnesia right there.
That's what that is. That is absolutely what that is. Thank you for sharing that, because that thing is real.
Yeah,
it gives people anxiety.
Yeah,
it does. It makes people not want to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So now you find out on the third doctor. Third doctor. I don't know what's wrong with my fingers. That it's not even in the front. It's in the back. So then what happens?
We had another MRI, because in your first year, and I was with my first neurologist for about a year and a half, your insurance entitles you to 2 MRIs, and he didn't find it necessary to do so, even when I asked him to do so. So we finally have another MRI. And my suspicions were right. And my suspicions were right because I had MRI about 7 years before the first one, and they see nothing in my brain.
Okay.
They told me that I was going to be dead in 5 years. That very, very first one, that seen nothing in the brain because of the stress of my ex-husband. My skin was breaking out, and I was losing my hair. I was losing my vision. Stress was killing
Vision too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people stress kills.
Yeah.
Stress absolutely kills.
So I had taken the calculations from the very first one, 7 years before the one that found my tumor.
Mhm.
And I had done the calculations, and I'm like, it's growing way faster than he thinks it's
Right.
going to.
Right.
So I finally get to the third one, the third neurologist,
Yeah.
and have my third MRI. And it's growing too fast.
Like you knew.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah,
what
it's not something that I celebrated.
I know that's a fact. Good God.
And right around that time, I had started the podcast, and I was working with my energy people that were coming on my show, and they were helping me with my PTSD.
Okay. Explain to people what PTSD is.
So I think it's so important for everybody to know exactly what PTSD is.
Yes.
Now, you can have that from any traumatic incident that has happened to you, whether it's rape, whether it's abuse, whether it's shotgun stuff going around you. It's usually linked to soldier.
Right.
But it's not soldier, it's victim.
You know what I feel? I feel like it used to be connected to soldier. I feel like now we're talking about it more, and people are really truly recognizing that certain things go on and you got PTSD.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. So the team is helping you with the PTSD. You find out, about this tumor.
Yep.
And then how do you transition?
So they said, we don't know if we want to do surgery or if we want to do radiation.
Okay.
The tumor is small enough that if we get it right now, if you do radiation, then you will be doing it for about 20 to 25 minutes. And usually what people do when they're having radiation, they have a series of them, and they have them for about 15 minutes. But mine was going to be about 20 to 25.
Okay. And for how long were they saying you were going to have to do this?
One time. And that's why. That's why the long.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Well, that was better news.
Yeah.
That was better news for sure. Wow.
So right around Valentine's Day, they finally, and this has been about 6 months process from me meeting the new neurologist, the third neurologist, until, finding out all this, getting new specialists on board and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so I had an appointment with 2 doctors, one for radiation on Valentine's Day and one for the surgery.
Okay.
And I can tell you there was a huge difference between those 2 doctors.
Oh, that's a fact.
Because the one that was doing surgery had no idea who I was, had no idea about my case, had no idea about anything. I knew that if I was having surgery, I would be requesting a different surgeon.
Right. Because of how you felt.
Yeah.
We got to do better, man. Like I told you earlier, I don't know where the switch hits, where bedside manner, energy, something's off. Where I feel the medical field has now become a thing of, okay, if I study and I'm smart, I can pass this and just make a bunch of money. It has nothing to do with the heart of the patient. And we gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
Figure that out for sure.
And I think as we have more studies on what patient amnesia is, There's going to be new courses that there are required because we have monthly training, yearly training, stuff like that, on how to avoid it.
Right.
So I think it's coming. It's just not here yet.
Right. Well, I'm rooting for that. What the heck is this? Feel like you're being punked sometimes. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What just happened? Yeah. We got to figure this thing out for sure. Okay, so now you get the radiation.
Yep.
And then you're.
So I find out in the end of this month, because it's been about 3 months, if they got it.
Okay.
I have another MRI.
Okay. Come on, we got it.
Yeah.
All will be well. We speaking that thing.
Well, it has to be well because I'm about to do leg surgery.
Right. And that. So now let's shift to the leg surgery. Now you already had one.
Yeah.
That was you said 2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
People that need to understand what leg surgery is for neuropathy or varicose veins is when your body is unable to bring your blood back up. So it goes down and then it kind of looks like this, and they kind of start breaking and letting the blood through. So that's where you get the swelling of the legs.
Got you. And because of the field you work in, you're constantly on your feet.
Yeah.
Had to say that because, yeah, that's how you end up with them. Right.
Yeah, that and genetics. My grandmother had them.
Okay. Got you. And so I know, just share, like, I know there's certain tests because I actually just recently got one where you can get your veins checked.
Yeah.
So was that something you were doing regularly, or it was just like, okay.
And a question that you asked me earlier that I never got around to answering is, what is natural medicine, your holistic medicine, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is in the food you eat, making healthy choices. That is in the medications you're taking. And what I mean by medications you're taking is it's not pharmaceutical. What you're getting is your herbs, your vitamins, your minerals, and all that other beautiful stuff that can help your body.
That come from the earth. How about that? That beautiful stuff that comes from the earth. Mm-hmm.
So it's important to know that the difference between modern medicine and holistic healing is holistic healing often looks at the whole body.
Right.
Where modern medicine, you're going in there because you're sick or something's hurting and they have to deal with whatever is going on to find your diagnosis.
Right. That was good. You hit it on the nail. That was good. That's exactly what that is, for sure. Wow. Okay. So now, I know you explained that your family, was more into the Western modern medication. What did you lean towards that had them feeling some type of way? Like, what was like the first thing?
The first thing I ever grabbed was essential oils.
I'm sorry?
The first thing I ever grabbed was essential oils.
How did you find out about it?
I was given an oil that kind of helped with the neuropathy pain. Now, this is before the pandemic and all this. This is when I first had the leg surgery and get hurt.
Okay.
And I get an essential oil bottle and it kind of touches it. And I'm like, okay. And then a family friend gives me another bottle and that took care of it really well. And I'm like, okay, I need another bottle. Now, I did not understand why this bottle costs so much.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you able to share what it is?
I don't even remember what it was because I wasn't able to get another bottle because she needed the energy of the moon to increase the power of the essential oil.
Got you. So this was also spiritual.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
So I take a class on essential oils, and the instructor there helped me find doTERRA, and it's the best. Even compared to Young Living, because Young Living doesn't source right. They don't always give the farmers the best compensation.
Got you.
And not only that, but they try to source as much as they can locally. And right there it stopped me, because I'm a granddaughter to farmers.
Right.
And in Minnesota, you're often not going to find something that was farmed in the South.
Gotcha.
It's just not the right land. It's not the right water. It's not the right sun. It's just not right.
Not right. Gotcha. Knowledge is power. See that? Yeah. You knew better. You're like, yeah, no.
So I start doTERRA, and I start the LLB, and that's a multivitamin system that the company has looked at what can go into your body on a daily basis, and that's all that they put in there.
Wow.
Because first off, hot tip on essential oils is you get it from Target, or you get it from Walmart, and only 5% of that bottle has to be real. 95% of that, they don't have to tell you what they put in it.
Oh, right. I heard something about that as well. Yeah. Okay.
So they're lacing it with stuff, and so you're not getting the pure product. You're not getting that thing that truly helps you.
Right.
And unfortunately,
help this country. We need help.
Gotta fill their pockets, right?
Yeah, and it's, we're joking, but it's sad. Yeah, this is a scary time we are living in, that this, they would rather keep people sick than help in reference to even insurance. These things should be paid for. You shouldn't be going broke to heal.
And it's way back when. The more that I learn about CBD, the sadder it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because now big money is finding, people are going to go to CBD. Let's legalize it. How many people, black and brown, did they arrest because of it?
Some are still in there.
Yeah.
Some are literally still in there. It's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. There's so many layers, and I just feel like God is absolutely revealing a lot.
Yeah.
He's revealing.
And I think it's important to know that CBD is also laced. So don't buy it off of Amazon. Buy it from somebody that is going to do it justice.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that for sure. So now you learn about the essential oil. You said you took a course? What was that?
I took a small community class, yeah. So I found out about doTERRA, found out the multivitamin system, and that was another drop that I was going to give you guys. A lot of your vitamin C's, melatonin, all these other things in the pharmacies, in Target, in Walmart, or any of those places that carry that stuff, there's no regulation on them. So your calcium, they can jam pack as much as they can in it, and it's not regulated to your body.
Right. Wow. Ugh. We'll be out here trying and still can't win. I'll tell you, it's a lot. It is a lot going on. So now you take this essential oil class.
Yeah.
Because now you realize, like, I have other options.
Right.
So I know you mentioned, interviewing doctors and trying to educate yourself in reference to modern and holistic. So what do you do in reference to mixing the two in your case?
So for me, when I had right around the same time I was getting radiation at my brain, I went to go visit my dentist, and she's like, I need to take out all your teeth right now. 22 has been a very good highlight, I think. I'll find out. I'll find out in December.
And why does she need your jibs? Why does she need your teeth?
I grind my teeth at night, and because of the radiation, it brings down the bone density.
Mm. Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now it does make sense. Wow, though.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
So I have now used CBD. I've used essential oils. I've used other alternatives besides just Western, but I'm trusting my doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've got the right doctors, I'm trusting my doctors.
Right.
And when I don't see that I need that pill, I find out why they want to give me that pill. And a great story with that is my significant other co-host had a little while back now a scary heart thing going on.
Okay.
And he goes and sees his doctor for this first time. The doctor says, I'm going to give you 2 pills. Chris is like, tell me why.
Mm-hmm.
Be informed. He says no to the one pill, yes to the other pill, and changes his diet, changes his exercise routine, gets off the salt and everything. And he's willing to do this.
Right.
But when he shows up at the pharmacy, there's the pill that he talked about and a different one.
Explain that.
The doctor didn't agree with his decision.
Ooh.
So he sent 2 strips over there.
No bueno.
Yeah.
That's not how that goes. Oh my goodness. What did he say?
He said something to me when he's with the doctor, and I'm like, okay, so you don't have me on your living will. You don't have me on any power of attorney or anything like that. So if anything traumatic happens to you and you don't have a voice, what?
No good. Where are we? Ooh.
I have tried convincing him, but he's old school. You don't switch your doctor. And it's like, right. Yes, you do.
Yeah. When they ain't right, you switching the heck out of that doctor. They ain't right, they ain't right.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Wow.
And the saddest, strongest story that I can relate to proving that is the same doctor that killed my grandfather is the same doctor that killed my grandmother.
Whoa. All right, you can't lay that on us and not explain that. What? What does that mean? What happened?
So 5 years before my grandfather had died, he had a triple bypass. Mm-hmm. He goes to the doctor for a visit.
Right. Sorry, explain to people what a triple bypass is. I'm so sorry. I gotta just.
Nope. You're fine. You're fine. Triple bypass is when 3 of your vessels are almost completely closed off on your heart, so the blood flow isn't going.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So he goes to the doctors for a physical, and he's like, I've been having some problems with my heart, and the doctor's like, I think you're okay to go to Texas by plane. We'll address this when we get back. My grandfather came back in a casket.
No. Oh.
And it was because of the plane ride and not having.
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah.
The
pressure. Yep. That's why they tell you don't even go on a plane if you're getting serious dental work.
Yeah.
Come on in here.
So.
Ooh, that just hurt my heart.
Yeah. So.
Whew, sorry that happened.
About 5 years later, my grandma's almost 80, and she's having a back pain, and she doesn't understand what the heck is going on, so she goes to her doctor. Same doctor, because you didn't switch it back then.
Old school.
Yep. And at the age of 80, when you're supposed to start getting, colonoscopies at age 50 and 40 if it's in your family history.
Right.
He had never given her one. My grandma died of
Lord.
stage 4 colon cancer.
I cannot take this. Oh boy.
And that's one of the reasons why when I was having radiation, it scared me, because we find out about my grandma and within a month we had lost her because she had started radiation. Her potassium levels hadn't been checked.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry that happened. Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Same doctor
Yeah.
allows granddad to get on a plane. Granddad passed away. Now his best friend keeps the same doctor who clearly wasn't giving her the right advice, getting her checked in time, and that caught up. And then she passes away. You have to get radiation. So that's automatic PTSD.
Right.
Remember, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think people need to really understand these are the things that happen. Where other people are like, you better go to the doctor, you better go to the doctor, and they don't get it.
Yeah.
Because we don't always put a name to it. You know, we just like, I don't like doctors. There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's things like that. We gotta do better. Oh my goodness. We have to do better. Like, wow.
And obviously I love the medical realm, or I wouldn't work in it.
Right.
But we have to do better.
Yeah.
And we have to have those conversations with our doctors, and we have to have those conversations with our pharmacist, and we have to have the conversation.
Yeah. You know what I feel? And then, you know, I definitely want you to tap into, you know, how you've connected the two and some of the information you learned from the doctors you've interviewed on your podcast. But I almost feel like the medical field, when it comes to certain, how do I say, certain fields in the medical field, it's almost like basketball teams. It's almost like the NBA. Like in the NBA, you have these men, huge, 8 feet, you know, these big men, they're making millions of dollars to shoot this ball in the hoop.
Yeah.
So when they don't practice right, the coaches, the staff, they don't want to tell them you got to practice because they're like, this dude can get rid of me. So I almost feel it's almost like the same energy when it comes to the medical field.
Yeah.
You have these doctors, they're making all this money. They're the smart ones. You know, they can just say, I don't want this nurse working with me. She's causing me problems. And people can actually lose their jobs.
Right.
So people don't say anything. We have to get past that part.
I think it's important to have a conversation without losing your stuff.
Right.
Because as soon as you lose your stuff, you're marked as the trouble patient.
Yep.
So what me and you had talked about earlier was this varicose vein surgery that I'm about to face, and they hooked me up with the one that had done me wrong.
Again?
Yeah. So I get into the office. Well, before I get into the office, and for those that live in small communities, I apologize. You don't always have a choice of doctors.
Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that. I got you. Yeah, that needed to be said. Thank you for saying that.
But I live in our larger community, and I'm like, give me a different surgeon. Not because I don't, he might be the best in the world, but my energy is connected to what started the neuropathy, and I'm not starting there. I'm not starting at fear.
Right. And you shouldn't have to.
So I get into the doctor's office, and I'm like, who do you have me with? And I'm already in the room, and they're like, well, this doctor. I'm like, is that the one that did the original one? They're like, yes. And as calmly as I'm talking to you right now, because it needs to be said, many people lose their stuff at this moment.
Right.
I said, I will not go to him.
Good for you.
I said, I got neuropathy from the first surgery, and I am strongly requesting another one. And
good for you. I felt that.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, we'll have to rebook you. And that's where people are like, oh my gosh, time, fine, put me with him. Fine, it's fine. I don't
See
have
that?
any other time.
It's
Fine.
true. It's true.
And I said, absolutely. So as calmly as I'm talking to you right now is as calmly as I walked out of that office, because you never want to be marked as that troublesome patient.
Right.
Not because you're not doing justice to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying not to do the justice for yourself. I'm saying bite it.
Mm. Oh boy. Wow.
As hard as it is, as soon as you get marked as that troubled patient, it doesn't matter what color you are. And unfortunately for about Black people, it's talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't ever work with that patient again. If they have to come in, get them out as soon as possible.
Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. I told you what was said. Get him out. She said, that's the object. The object is to get them out. I said, not bad too. You're not getting this one out. You're going to take care of this one. But how many don't have that?
Right.
Someone to fight for them. They got to fight for themselves or make a choice that they don't want to make because they don't want to be labeled and stamped as that one.
Mm-hmm.
But not doing what needs to be done can take you out of here. It's not right.
Yeah.
Something needs to happen. Something needs to happen for sure. It's too much.
So as calmly as I was with you talking about this, as calmly as I had that discussion with them, and 2 weeks later I have my new one.
All right. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
Y'all hear that? That means it is possible. So if it's on your heart and you are uncomfortable, you should not have double fear. You already don't want to do what you have to do. You shouldn't have it stamped on, I don't want to do it, what I have to do with someone I've already had trauma with.
Right. And a lot of people think it's in the heart, and you're like, oh, but you can get over that. That's fine. You'll get over it. You're fine. They know what they're doing. You're fine. And the thing is that body stress, all that fear does not heal you properly.
It speaks. Stress speaks through the body. Woo! Rachel. I'm so glad you started this podcast because it's so needed. It's so needed. So what has it been like when the doctors have come on to share? How has that been on a podcast?
Oh my gosh. The first thing that as a podcaster that I always do is I have a 15-minute conversation with them to know, is this the right person?
Right. That's good.
There was one person, he wasn't a doctor. He was in holistic practice on how to take care of COVID when you have it in your body, but he wasn't talking right. And I'm like, I'm not bringing you on.
Right. And how would that go? Did you find somebody who was talking right on that subject?
Yeah, I did.
And how did that go? I would love to hear that one.
So
I gotta check that
saying
out.
that the vaccination is always the answer for you. I'm not saying that, but you know what? You got to look at who you're living with, who's in your community, because when you're choosing not to have the vaccination, you're choosing to get sick with something that might fatally kill somebody else because they got it from you.
Okay. So what about the ones who died with the vaccine?
And that's so tragic because they don't have the vaccination right yet.
Right. So that's why everything is up in the air. So no one's right, no one's wrong. It's just your actual decisions for your environment or for your home or whatever it is. It just, help us.
But
we need help.
But when I was finding out what was going on with me, I got double vaccinated because I'm like, okay, my person that I sleep with every single night is choosing not to because vaccinations in histories past have not been good for our Black people.
I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot. Ooh, sorry about that. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Um, so you have the doctors come on, you interview them or you have conversation with them to make sure they're good for your platform,
Right.
so they can give out the right effective information.
Right.
So does anyone stick out that you can say, when this particular doctor came on, I learned that A, B, and C, which made me feel a little bit better about what I have going on. Have you had that?
I have to apologize because I don't remember what doctor's name is, but I can remember the episodes.
Okay.
And it was no more Google searches.
I like the title.
Yeah.
I'm about to check
So
it out.
I thought that was extremely powerful. Dr. Scott is the doctor that I work with every single day, and it was powerful to have that conversation on how to be your best advocate, even though when you're about to lose your stuff.
Wow. Okay.
But we've also had a lot of great healers. We've had a lot of small businesses on there. We've had a lot of things about mindfulness on there, diversity on there. And the reason why diversity came in is when Dante Wright got killed, my co-host and significant other sent a shout out to the family. He said he didn't know what all the details were, but he was apologetic for the family.
Yeah.
So
just tell the people who Dante Wright is. There's literally so many hashtags, and that hurts me. But just so they can know exactly which one he was.
Dante Wright was pulled over in a minor traffic stop and found that he had an arrest warrant out for him, and the cop decided that and it is a decision, because I'm sorry, there's a difference between a taser and a gun.
You think? I'm an officer, I know.
So
the taser's always on your weakest hand.
So
that much. Weakest side, excuse me.
So she chose to get the gun and shoot him.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just the weight alone. Yeah. And it's not that I haven't been in a code 21. And for those people that don't understand what a code 21 is when somebody is violent in the in the hospital.
In the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Or all of a sudden we need to get somebody in there because they went into cardiac arrest or anything like that. That is instant. Kick your brain in, stop your heart, go in, and take care of that patient.
Right.
Things can be forgotten, but a common thing like 2 different weight levels, we'd be like, what's in our hands?
Mm-hmm. Right. Whew. Child. We need prayer, child. It's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. And when George Floyd was killed, it was so much education going on in my house. And the ones that were educated didn't have enough, because when the verdict finally came, they were like, what are you celebrating for? I'm like, this is history.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I said, you better recognize what this is, because people will ask you in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is like 9/11. Where were you?
Right. Whew. Goodness. Okay. So you had the podcast where you felt that I need to educate people connected to, the medical field, in particular, some of the things I went through. Yep. Now you're learning more about the medications and the holistic way of things. I love that you shared earlier that the holistic isn't covered with insurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 7 that walk through the house. You're fine. Okay.
Absolutely forgot my thought. How has it been now? With the children, and what's their response to you? Um, Learning more about the holistic side of things and choosing to deal with what works best for your situation. I know you said your parents are more Western, and your significant other is as well, correct?
In ways, he's actually and that's what confuses me about why he stays with the doctor, because he's the one that's like, go study it. And
He's
that
like,
big
go
pharma
study
has a
it.
problem.
I'm gonna stay doing what I'm doing. He's a nerd. He's such a guy.
He is.
So what are the kids saying? Because I know I feel like you're that parent that makes everything an educational moment. So what are the kids? What are some of the questions they've been asking, or what have they been thinking about the holistic side of things?
They were doing some pushback on their mental health with it, and I'm like, just try it. If it doesn't work for you, fine. But isn't that the same with big pharma? If the medication isn't right, and here's the thing to also understand about big pharma: for every diagnosis you get in medication, you will get 2 for the side effects of that medication.
Say that. That's a fact.
So isn't it better to put something natural in your body first?
Mm-hmm. Try it out, see what's what.
And then go over to the modern medicine.
So what are some of the sites, if you can remember, or what are some of the things, like if I say, listen, I'm traumatized,
Right.
my mother is gone now, and I am. I have 7 members that I love that are gone now because they were on 30 different medications. Clearly, none of it works because they gone. So now I don't want to do that.
Right.
What if I come to you, Rachel? If I come to your podcast, what would be the direction you would tell me to go into when it comes to the holistic side of things?
So there's herbalist. There's aromatherapist.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
There is, and I would start there.
Okay.
So, and then I would also encourage you to have a primary in the medical realm that you tell everything to, and have that conversation about, I choose holistic medicine, just so that they are fully aware. Because the thing is where the doctor from the doctor's office no longer needs to come in to the hospital anymore, because you have a hospitalist.
Oh, got you.
So you need that primary from all the specialists that you're going to manage what you're doing.
Got you. No,
even holistic medications, because things can side effect with each other. Right. Even holistic medicine, they can side effect.
Thank you for saying that, because, and that just happened to me recently, where I realized they started asking more questions, because I'm like, I wasn't feeling well. I just want to make sure I don't have COVID. Let me just take the test. That's what I'm here for. I'm like, I took my CMOS, I took my, my black seed oil, so I'm feeling better. But I just want to make sure. I'm like, there's a little bit still rumbling there, but I just want to make sure. And so then she said something to me that made me realize she respected that I was doing it that way. So that was actually refreshing. It was actually the first time it ever happened, so that was refreshing. So I feel like they actually know the holistic way is a better way, but this stuff sometimes is easier for them.
I think as we get into our younger doctors, we're going to find that more.
Got you.
But where they're willing to have that open communication that you do holistic. Because our old school doctors are so much into big pharma, not always lining their pockets, but just because that was their education.
That was what it was. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so
can't teach a whole new trick sometimes.
Right. And they say, I'm sorry that I have to give you these 2 pills for your side effects, and you should be at that moment not necessarily questioning the doctor, but questioning yourself and saying, do I need these 2 medications, or is this something natural that I can put with this medication?
Right. That's the thing too. I don't think people, like you said earlier, you said I just went in blindly. And that was a real statement because you're thinking is they were the school for this. I'm not a doctor, they must know. And not so much. Not
Yeah.
so much. Yeah. And wow.
The best thing that I can say is when I needed the first time I knew I needed to find another primary is when I said I want help losing a little bit of weight, and she suggested bariatric surgery right then.
Ooh.
And I'm like, this is not who I am, and you are not my person.
Wowzer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, for those people that need bariatric surgery, fine, but understand and educate yourself. There are so many bad side effects about having that surgery.
Yeah, you definitely want to do your research on that, and definitely want to do the research on the doctor if they just go right there.
Yeah.
So quickly. Because wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. That was different. I'm a little thrown off behind that.
And that's why I say, when you first meet your primary, if you're into holistic practice, have that conversation.
Yeah. Wow.
And the best, the overall thing that I think I can tell anybody from this whole conversation is be as transparent as possible and educate yourself.
Absolutely. Okay. So now, how are you feeling now with you having a surgery coming up? Do you have the mindset of, I got to get this done, but I know after it's officially done, I still have to heal and be okay.
Yeah.
So what is your thinking about that?
So I know that cypress essential oils can help you. I know that there's other there's other herbals and minerals and other things that I can choose to put in my body to help me heal. I know these things, and light exercises when I need to do them and stuff like that to re-put my body back in the state.
Right.
I didn't have those tools before.
Right. Love that. That was good. So what is you mentioned being full of mindfulness. Explain to the people what that is.
I think I've had it since I was a young age, and I'm just going to briefly go over it because we're so far into this conversation.
Yeah.
I would love to come on and explain more in the future. But for mindfulness for myself, when I was a young child, I questioned, I grew up Catholic, and I questioned that Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, how can 3 be 1? Because I didn't understand that, I couldn't be my father. So how is this explained to me? And the teacher explained it. It just is.
Right.
Explain to me so I can close that. I can close that book in me. And because she did it like that, I started questioning other things in my life. Why do my parents only hang out with white people? Why do they, when I started dating outside my race, why are they saying that, this is a gay disease and stuff like that, and being so ugly and right? And I fought against that, even in my own household, even against my own grandmother on my dad's side, who were extremely racist. And I didn't let it end there. Now, going forward, and like I said, this is a conversation that we can have in the future.
Absolutely.
But going forward, my grandmother, who was the racist, ended up having such a wonderful relationship with my children that when my daughter changed her name, she changed it to her name. She took on my grandmother's name.
Wow. Look at that.
And my sister was able to, at the age of 35, admit to my parents that she loved a woman.
Okay.
And my cousin, who had a stereotypical white mother, was able to come out to his mother and say, I'm in love with a man. And now they have a grandchild that they can't be without.
Right.
And I attribute it just because to myself, just because I took the stand to be better than who I was being taught to be, because I knew other people were out there besides my color.
Right. Go ahead, Rachel, child. Go ahead, child. Help somebody tonight. I'm telling you, because there's too much going on. Too much going on.
That's another thing you guys will find on my podcast. We've had those up in conversations, me and Chris.
I can't wait to tune in. I got to catch up. I can't wait. I'm telling you, because I know you're a powerhouse. I can tell. So thank you so much, for coming on, being bold, because it takes guts to share your story, and especially when you've been through so much. But it's needed. Like you said, we have to have these hard conversations.
Yeah.
we have to look at our life as it's not our own. We went through certain things to help someone else to not go there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for being transparent and for entertaining me, because you don't know me from anywhere. So I don't take that lightly. If you wanted to leave the people with something, connected to who you are, as an overcomer, connected to who you are as a person who is searching out answers connected to the medical, how things are being handled, how patients are being handled, what would you want the people to leave with?
If you don't open that conversation, nobody will ever know.
Boom.
Another thing that I've done in my mindfulness is I've joined Bless. It's an app. It's a humanitarian app. She's going global. So you guys jump on there. You can either give a need, request a need, or put businesses or organizations out there that help needs. And these needs can be as simple as I need food, I need money for gas, or even simpler, I need somebody to read a book to me because I'm lonely.
Love that. I felt that. Ooh, that's awesome. And I love the name.
Yeah.
I love the name. That's so good. Look at that. Come on. Listen, we gotta show the positivity, in a world full of chaos. We have to show that there's still people who care about your mental well-being, who care about you not being okay, and maybe we can help with that, so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I can't even give her justice of what she's doing.
Right.
She asked me to be a blessed ambassador, and she's doing this globally.
Right. Isn't that something? All it takes is an idea and movement to make a difference.
Yeah.
Everyone who's doing something great, in this time, they had an idea. They saw something. It was some type of unction where they're like, I got to get involved. And they did it. So thank you for the work. I'm not even shocked. I'm not. I can see that. Absolutely. I can see that.
Just to touch base on Chris he is into natural, because he's moving forward with his business, which is natural snow cones and strudel from scratch.
Shout out to Chris, man.
He's got it. He just got it the wrong.
We got jokes, Chris. We love you out there. You all right with us, Chris? It's only jokes, man. It's only jokes. But that's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Where are you guys again? Minnesota?
We're Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay. All right. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah.
We're trying to travel and things. So we're going to have to go to Minnesota, see what's going on out there.
Well, if you do, I'd always have a conversation with you on my podcast.
Absolutely. I would love that. I would love to have the in-person. Very cool. Very cool.
Get those hugs in.
Yeah. Love that.
All right, hon.
Go ahead, Rachel. So this
It is Pride Month, so I want to leave everybody with this last thing.
okay.
If you think your child is on the wrong side of history as far as being in the LGBT community, it's time to check yourself and have that conversation when you are educated on how to love your child better.
Wow. You bet you ain't playing, child. She said, "You hurt me." Yeah, she's showing love and she's helping people to understand that it's okay to not be okay, but you're not alone.
Yeah.
No one is alone in the things that they go through. And I think in this time, in such a time as this, people really need to understand. We tapped into so many different things. Thank you so much for that. Mental health, you know, PTSD, the holistic, the westernized medication, things like that. To me, everything is connected to us being okay. But like we said earlier, you said earlier, give yourself grace. And I think the more we learn about giving ourselves grace, we can heal, we can learn, and we can be open to other things to make things better.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I'm excited about your podcast. Continue to do what you are doing. It's so needed at this time. I've learned a lot tonight, so I'm going to be journaling for sure. Journaling for sure. I put in the chat to look into herbalist. You said something else too. I'm going to put that in the chat. I think it was 3 things you said when I asked you what people should look into.
Aromatherapist.
Put that in there.
Herbalist.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to your primary about your choices in holistic medicine.
Got it. Yep, that was it. Thank you so much for that. Yes. Let the people know all your information so they can reach out to you.
Yeah.
Podcast, share with them, social media and stuff.
So I would love for you guys all to get into the Humanitarian Act. It's called Bless. You can find it on your iPhone or Android.
Mm-hmm.
But to find me, it's infusionhealthpodcast.com.
All right. And Bless is spelled a little differently, correct?
BLESS. Same.
Oh, it is spelled regular?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. I felt like the E was a different way or something. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay.
But I'm going to let you go because you got to get to work.
I sure do, but I'm going to let you go. But listen, once again, thank you so much for taking out time to educate us, on essential oils. I'm definitely going to be looking into that as well.
doTERRA.
Yeah.
doTERRA.
Terra. All right. Let me put that in the chat too.
And, I
is it just TERA?
D. No, it's small d, small o with a slash on top of it. So it's French /O.
Okay.
And then capital TERRA. And I'll send you a link on how to get a hold of me on that.
Awesome. I put it in the chat. All right, cool. But yes, once again, thank you so much for taking out time, to educate us, to share your amazing story. I know there was so much more you could say.
Yeah, there is.
Time.
I've had a lot.
We're definitely gonna have to connect again for a few reasons. So, once again, God bless you and your family, your children, your significant other. Continue to be bold. You absolutely know what God has you here to do. So continue to be encouraged. I know it can be a lot, when you're trying to do his work, be okay physically, mentally, all different things, and you still want to get the message out. So, continue to stay encouraged, give yourself grace, and continue to do your work. And just thank you so much for coming on tonight. Miss Rachel Kass of Infusion Health Podcast. Guys, make sure you check her out. I'm excited. I gotta catch up. I'm gonna have to do that tonight before I go into work. So thank you so much once again. Everyone, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hot Michael Lady She Podcast, and have a good night.
Later. Bye, guys. All right. Thank you, sweetie.
You're welcome. Have a good night.